This is the UK premiere of Ten Bulls, so I just want to say thank you very much for coming. Big welcome, and thanks a lot as well to Love Bites itself, the Love Bites Festival, Studio of the North, and to the South Yorkshire Filmmakers Network for making it all happen. This is an award-winning short film, and Kim Bauer is here, as well as many of the other people who are involved with making the film or who would like to talk about the process that goes along and on when it comes to making these sorts of films. This is a film that was 5 years in the making, I've actually just learned. So that's a hell of an achievement, and I hope that you feel the same way after you watch it. This is a film that won the Best Experimental Film Award at the Da Vinci Film Fest in America, and also at the Twin Rivers Film Festival, got an honorary mention. It's played at something like, what, about 8 or 9 festivals so far, submitted to a hell of a lot more. It's played in Germany, the States, Spain, Italy, and now you're seeing it for the first time in the UK, so we're privileged here. I hope that you feel that there's a poetic element to this film. That's one of the reasons that I'm here specifically, because I'm quite interested in the way that poetry and film, or poetic film, work together. And I sort of like, would just want to find out a little bit more about the process of it. I'm just as much of a student of this as I hope all of you are. I just wanted to say a big welcome and like, just enjoy the film. And we're ready to play it now. Thanks a lot, guys.
Well, really the inspiration came from a concert that I attended of Frank Perry, who is the composer and performer of the soundtrack. And he uses Tibetan singing bowls. And I was truly sort of mesmerized by these sounds, and I realized not only I, but the whole audience was like completely absorbed in this music. And what struck me also was that somehow, even though it was this abstract medium, it seemed like he was telling a story, and there was a sort of emotional journey going on as well. So I contacted Frank, and we met up, and we decided we wanted to work together on a project, but wanted to find a story to tell really through sound and visuals. And he suggested the 10 Oxherding pictures. And perhaps the slightly unusual thing for this film is that with the first lot of funding I managed to get, I basically commissioned the music. And Frank put down this 21 minutes of music, and that was the starting point, and that has never changed. We have added sound design, but the music is still exactly as it was from the beginning. Right. And that inspired the pictures. Well, partly due to the funding coming in sort of drips and drabs, it was a project that had to be done in stages. So in the beginning it was more difficult because it was just this abstract idea, and someone had to sort of do the first step and give me some money to kind of shoot a bit. But then perhaps actually Andrew can comment, because I then somehow managed to persuade him to contribute to the CGI of the film. Maybe you can say how did I manage that?
Actually, I don't know. I should introduce myself. My name's Andrew Daffy, and at the time that I met Kim, which is about 5 years ago, I was working at a company called Framestore CFC, which I think at the time was Europe's largest kind of animation and visual effects facility, and I was looking after the animation department there. And day in, day out, it's an incredibly busy department and lots of work going on, and not necessarily allowing time for art-based projects, short film projects. And I actually know how you got me watching the film. I think you hypnotized me. Because watching that sequence where he's doing this, he's got the cup full of mercury, and it's so hypnotic. And I think my sequence comes just after, so I think you played that and said, we want your bit here. Yeah.
And that's Steve Hawley's footage, by the way.
I think
beautiful. He is.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful, and I just want to congratulate it because it's mesmerising to watch. And I've seen it on DVD, and you showed me a rough cut when Kim came into Framestore, all those years ago, and it looked great then. I think you kind of convinced me to work on it just because of the beauty of the film, and I'm very interested in working on. I've worked on lots of large feature films and commercials and things like that. But I've always been interested in doing slightly, off-kilter projects, and I've done a few editing for fashion films and stuff. So this really sort of grabbed my attention. So I think it was, for you, I think it was luck, because I think if you'd have gone to other visual effects artists in the industry, I think their main goal is less, my priority is to work on interesting projects as well as, the ones that are going to attract millions and millions of viewers. So, and I really enjoyed working on it.
I think it's a very important question, because again, it's all very well and good for us to actually spend a lot of time finding ways to raise funding to make these projects. But one of the things that does tend to frustrate me about this country in particular occasionally is the fact that the exhibition channels are still, the exploitation channels in its wider sense, are still pretty much regimented, and there isn't the same kind of creative approach that other countries, for instance in continental Europe, might have to works which are not immediately considered to be part of the mainstream. We have a concept here for art house films, whatever that might be, which you hear us here in Britain and Americans talk about. You never hear French or German producers having to talk about art house films, because for them, there are films that are arty, there are films that are less arty, and it all forms part of the same kind of landscape that deserves distribution and deserves to be given visibility. We have this word which on one side sounds very wonderfully intellectual, but in fact is a bit of a dirty word in the market, because the moment you mention it, most of the mainstream financiers run away. So I think there is an element of cultural policy missing here, which I don't know whether my perception is correct or not, but I don't feel was missing 15, 20 years ago here in Britain. I mean, certainly as I was growing up, and I wasn't growing up here, I was growing up in Italy, but as I was growing up in Italy, the kind of British films, British output that I was receiving, even in a foreign country, and the kind of independent projects that I was actually seeing when I first came over here, seemed to me to be a lot more courageous, and there seemed to be a lot more mixture and variety in the kind of output that you could actually get access to. No. Whether the digital revolution now will actually make any difference to that, I think, is hoped for, but I'm not necessarily think it's yet proven, because certainly in terms of enabling films of the kind like Kim's, which really benefits from being seen in a space like this, as we've seen tonight, to overcome the cost and the practicalities of getting access to the larger screens and being exhibited theatrically is actually still, I think, quite a challenge, even with the new digital wave coming on.